Ladies and gentlemen, it's taken me 5 years of dividend investing to realize there are other options that might even be better than just dividends. And there's a specific reason it's taken me 5 years to figure this out. It might take you longer. And if you are new to this, I'm going to give you a heads up. And if you've been in this game for a while, you probably already know this, so you're going to be able to help me out in the comment section below. But we're going to head over to my computer. We're going to break some stuff down. So let's jump right into this. Welcome back, passive income investors alike. Today we got so much to go over. Here's a few links of what we're going to be checking out, guys, and what is going on. And the reason I want to talk about this because I have a problem, an issue, and that issue is that I'm going to have to pay taxes. And my goodness, when you work for yourself and you start paying taxes, you know the pain, and you don't want that pain. So you're going to try and find a way to avoid it, obviously. And I've recently come to the conclusion that spending money might not be the worst thing. And this is probably one of the best ways to do so when it comes to deferring tax. It's called a 1031. If you own real estate, if you're trading real estate and you're buying and trying to flip up, anytime you have capital gains, you're going to redivert them back into a piece of property, which means you can actually avoid paying any kind of capital gain tax on it, which means you can collect cash flow without losing any capital up front when you put it into the property, which sounds great. This position that I sit in is the position that I don't make enough to be able to afford a house within a year. Like, I'm going to be able to come up with 40 or 50,000. It's enough to buy a house in the States. It's not enough to buy a house in Canada. But that leaves me with a problem, is that I'm going to have to spend another 10 or 15,000 to the government. So if I can't afford a house, what is my other option to try and increase my cash flows without losing the capital I've currently earned? And I came up with one idea, and that was doing a show. I'm a full-time magician. If you did not know, if you go to my website, kylelivingston.com or historyofmagic.com, you can see my show that I'm putting on through the Markham Theater. This is costing me somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000, which is not a small chunk of change, to say the least. But I realized that the government was going to want to take a lot of money from me, so why not put it into a theater rental and see if we can't sell a show? Best case scenario, the show sells tickets, things work out, and I actually get some money back out of this, and then I end up in the same problem I was in before I rented the theater. Or worst case scenario, the theater doesn't sell, I end up losing some money, and the government doesn't take it from me anyways. It's a weird problem to have. When you work for yourself, the government incentivizes you to essentially spend money. It's kind of weird how that works, but I want to spend it on something that has the potential to cash flow or gain value, and I want to be able to get those capital gains without the government taking it. And I sound greedy and immoral maybe, but this is how the business world works especially. And I've only started selling tickets just now, guys. I've been running ads, and maybe I can show you how those ads are doing if you'd like to check those out as well. I probably spent, I'm going to say, somewhere between $50 and $75 on ads so far. And if we go over to my like page, we head on over here, I'll show you some of the ads that have currently been running before I get into some other really cool ways of deferring capital. But this will be really quick, so I don't want to take up too much of your time on this boring stuff, because I'm sure you guys just want to see that cash flow. But here we go. So here's one ad that I'm currently running right now. Currently, I had about 80 engagements. 25 people out of the 4,500 that have seen this ad have actually clicked this link. So hopefully those 25 people end up leading to some form of a sale. So I mean, this ad isn't having the best conversions at the moment, but I'm just going to run it through. I've got a bunch more stuff. I'm going to try and do some viral videos. I'll talk more about that later. But this is just generally the start of the show. It's not till September. So next month is when ad campaigning really kicks in. But moving on, this is one way I'm trying to defer capital, but the end of the road with this, if it works out, it's actually going to end up costing me more money in tax, because I'll have made more money in return if and only if it works out. Now, the other way you can do this, maybe you're a student and you're going to school. This is not the way I recommend dealing with any kind of tax diversion or anything at all. Actually, I just wanted to throw this in here because I thought this story was really, really interesting, because Doug Ford is now changing the regulations to taking OSAP loans. Students have been running into problems, and somebody tweeted this really interesting thing. I am receiving half the amount of OSAP funding that I received last year. I'm nearly in tears as I worry about being able to afford school this year. Now, if you know me, you know I absolutely hate OSAP loans in education, because I know too many people that blew their education up their nose, literally, and they have $30,000, $50,000, even $80,000 in student loans. Some of them, they're working really shitty minimum wage jobs that are almost 30, the same age I am, sitting at home with their parents, broke, paying off those loans. I have a big problem with student loans and giving kids a hoard of money, and I did not want to click that and go to your stupid Twitter account, because you're probably some young lady that can't afford her education and is putting herself mildly in debt. And a lot of you are thinking, well, everyone deserves an education. I agree to that, but what's wrong with working for 3 to 5 years, educating yourself on things that interest you, and then seeing if education is the right road, instead of being 17, 18 years old and your parents are like, you're going to go to school, you're going to get an education, and then you're $50,000, $100,000 in debt at 25, trying to figure out what the fuck you did wrong with your life. It's an interesting thing, right? So I'm glad that the Ontario government is actually making it harder to get OSAP loans. I don't care that these kids, for these kids not to just go to work and get a normal job and start from the bottom like we all did. Like, I started working some pretty scuzzy jobs back in the day to pay for what I'm doing today. So I mean, just because you can't afford it up front doesn't mean you should be utilizing it, guys. Just my own personal thought. I figured I'd throw that in there, something interesting. But something that I think you're going to find even more interesting than that is empire flippers. So if you don't have enough money to buy a house, the next best option maybe for you to defer some capital is into a business. So essentially, with the money I have now, you would go and put a down payment on one of these merchant accounts. I want to try and take a look at this, just so, because you guys probably never heard of this before. Maybe if you have, you can let me know in the comment section below. But if you had, say, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 lying around, guys, you can go put a deposit or a down payment on a 6-figure business, or you can even find one that's a little bit cheaper and it's producing a full-time income. Ideally, I would like to find a business that rotates around business specifically or investing specifically, but I think those businesses do well. So you'll find that there are few in between actually on these sites you can buy. Like, the only one for business that I found is this one here. And this is actually one of the cheaper ones, surprisingly. But if we go on for business, you can read up. They don't really talk too specifically about the business because they don't want you finding it and copying it or whatever, but they hide it pretty well. And it just says this listing is an affiliate and info product business created in February of 2017. So this business has been around for a while. The guy puts 2 hours of work into it a week, nothing crazy. And here we can see that it has been a stable and generally growing business, which seems pretty incredible. So could you imagine if you spent $60,000 right now, you could be making $2,000 a month. And again, this is negotiable. Remember that, guys, negotiable. Everything in life is negotiable. But again, you could be making $2,000 a month. Boom, instantly. If you just worked a little hard, come up with a payment. Think about that. If you got a job instead of going and getting a real education, and you went and worked at McDonald's for whatever, and you saved up $20,000. You worked for 2 years, saved up $20,000, and then you decide, you know what, I don't want to work at McDonald's anymore. I'm going to put a down payment on one of these businesses. You're going to be paying your whatever on the loan, might be 5-10%. You don't want to be using a credit card for that, so you want to preferably try and find a line of credit or something. But you could definitely buy one of these, pay the loan down, and still make a full-time income, and then even grow this income without putting a lot of work into it. So you could even keep working at McDonald's part-time and be bringing in an extra $2,000 a month. It's an incredible thing, guys, and this is a good place to start finding other ways of deferring capital. So if you've been saving up money for the year and you have 30 or 40,000 saved up, you don't want to pay the government that 5 or 10,000. You could take that money and literally invest it into something like this. You'll be getting a crazy cash flow right off the hop. And these are legit businesses. Empire Flippers is the only one I'm showing you. There are a lot of sites that deal with business flipping, but this is the one that I want to show you because it's the most legit one. And these guys actually vet these out to make sure they are proper investments. So you're not going to be losing any of your money like you would by taking out an OSAP loan. And let's just admire the fact that if you go to school for 5-6 years and you're taking out a 6-figure loan, $100,000 over that same 5 years at 8-10% return is friggin' staggering. Just think about that, guys. You'd be making about $50,000 over the same 5 years you'd be in school if you just invested that $100,000, which would almost pay for your entire education. Instead, you're going to go to school. You're not going to be working. You're going to be spending that 6 figures. You're going to come out. It's going to take you another 5 to 10 years to pay that 6 figures back, and then you're only just going to start investing, and you're going to be 15 years behind this game, which is a scary thing to consider. But I just wanted to throw those numbers out there just to give you the reality of education for something like this. And this is something you can walk into that somebody already set up. Like, imagine instead of going to school and spending $100,000. Let me go back to this. You instead, you're going to say, you know what, forget it. I'm going to come up with 60 grand and I'm going to be already making a full-time income while my friends are in school. It's so weird to consider that, guys. Sorry, I'm not going to go on a tangent any longer. But come take a look at this website. It's really fun to scroll through and take a look at these businesses. Maybe you'll find something that interests you. Like, here's a multiple SaaS affiliate, social media, making $3,700 a month, or $4,000 in regular revenue. You are paying a pretty hefty premium for these, but again, the rate of return, you talk the number down a little bit on this, and you try and find a way to increase these. So you definitely want to find a business you think you can increase. And it's kind of an incredible thing. So it's nice finding these stable businesses. So again, guys, if you don't know anything about tax diversion, it's just the understanding that the government will take your money every year. If you work for someone like McDonald's, they're taking it anyways. So first of all, you want to find a business where you work for yourself, like me. You want to start investing that money into your tax-free savings accounts. And the reason I say that is because once you get it in there, it's worth paying the tax on it just to get it into your TFSA. If you live in the U.S., that might be a 401k or whatever, but tax-free savings account you can access whenever you want. All the money you make in there is tax-free, and that's why I recommend maxing it out as quick as possible, because once you get that done and dealt with, you're going to have a tax-free income, which there's nothing better than that. You just have to pay the tax up front. But once you're done that, investing in dividends almost becomes a little trickier, because if you are like me and you know my channel, you're going to know that I funnel a lot of money into dividend stocks, but the problem with that is I have to pay a lot of capital on the money I initially make before I can even buy the stock, which comes at the end of the year. So I'm already buying the stocks before I pay the tax. So at the end of the year, I'll actually have to sell stock to pay tax, which sucks. Which leads into the second thing, guys, which is not only are you paying tax on the initial work money, any money you make off those stocks in that account, you also have to pay income tax on. It's not a lot. The deductions are a little better, but you're still paying tax on tax, which really sucks, and it adds up over time immensely. Like, we're talking about, if in 5 years you could be paying literally anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 in taxes, which is a down payment on a bloody house. So the idea is to try and find something you can funnel your money into. So you make money and you can refunnel it into a business that is cash flowing, so you can increase cash flows. Like, you're constantly trying to find that next thing that is going to cash flow but take up a huge chunk of the initial money that you've earned, so the government's not going to take it. Because if you spend it on a business, it's a write-off and the government really can't touch it. And that's the road you want to go down. And you definitely want to advise this with an accountant, but it's a really interesting thing. And if you guys know any more about this, please let me know in the comment section below. It's something that I'm learning about. Do you know any other ways of cash flowing investments? I'd love to hear what you think. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, something a little different. If you have any knowledge about this stuff, definitely let me know in the comments section below. I love this community so much. You guys are awesome. We're over 400 subscribers strong now, and I love the fact that it's really starting this conversation. I've learned some stuff I didn't understand before, and I'm sure you guys have learned a little bit as well. At least I've hoped you've learned a little bit through these conversations, because I can't say thanks enough for all of you. If you guys have any questions, comments, you can also ask those in the comment section below. And if you know anything about deferring capital or other sources of income aside from like empire flippers, definitely let me know. I'm just kind of branching out because, like I said, at the end of this year, I'm going to come into the same problem I had last year, which is I'm going to have to pay tax. And if every year I'm paying $10,000 to $15,000 in taxes, why not just try to find a way to defer it, either into real estate or whatever might work. I think it's a fascinating thing to try and comprehend. If you have a house already, lucky you probably already see the benefits that you can get from that. So stay cool, stay awesome, guys. My account's open tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed this Sunday video, so we can get right back on in to the dividends.